Masters of None with Mike, J, and Art.
Masters of None. Boop.
Hey everybody, this is Scuba J. Clyde from Futurama.
This is Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, this is Mo the Bartender, and you're listening to the Masters of None.
Masters of None. I checked them out. They're very funny guys.
Masters of None.
A comedy podcast that doesn't suck.
Not sure what it means, but that's why I'm going to keep listening until I find out.
What's going on, everybody? It's Masters of None. I am Jay. With me, as always, is Mike.
Hello.
Arts.
You.
And we are kicking off our new season. What is this? Season 19 of this?
Yeah, sure.
Who cares? 20.
Too long. Too many seasons. But we're kicking it off with an awesome guest. He's going to be in town this Saturday. If you're in our area here in New York, in Middletown area, the Fair Oaks Drive-In, premiering the movie that who doesn't know this movie? It's famous. It's infamous. You know him from The Room. Greg Sestero. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for joining us. So it's this Saturday. It's going to be a double feature of The Room and The Disaster Artist. You'll be there doing a little Q&A, doing some meet and greets and stuff. Gonna have some sneak previews of some new stuff you're working on, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be my first time up in Middletown. The drive-in looks awesome. The guests they've had have been great. The programming seems really fun. So it's a perfect way to introduce Middletown to the best worst movie ever made. It's gonna blow people's minds, and then we're gonna do a Q&A and talk about how I survived that movie. And then just to make it even weirder, we're gonna show them the Oscar-nominated version about the making of that movie. So we're really giving them everything. It's a night they'll never forget. But
just meta everywhere.
It really is. I mean, when you sit back and you talk about it, it's like, okay, I did this like 18 years ago. We filmed it 19 years ago to the day of Middletown screening. August 22nd was the day we started filming The Room 19 years ago. And, to be here and showing it and then have that in your back pocket that, here's the movie about how we made it, I think is a pretty good tandem. But no, it's amazing that people they watch this movie and they're still talking about it all these years later. It's like, I was just hoping nobody would ever see it. It goes to show, like, when you really don't want something to happen, I think, oddly enough it does. But no, it's been a really, cool experience to be able to travel the world really and show people this movie. And then obviously it's been great, with the book. The publisher was based in New York, Simon & Schuster, and we did a big book release, and people have really loved the Disaster Artist book. And I kind of shared the journey of what it's like to be an artist and pursue your dreams, and how frustrating and how difficult that might be, and then people have really resonated with it. So all in all, it's been an insane 20 years. So it's brought me to Middletown this Saturday. So
top of the world, ma.
Actually, my dad was telling me he's got an uncle from years ago that had a farm in Middletown.
Okay. Yeah.
So
a lot of those.
maybe it would have to be like a Back to the Future where I'll go looking for my old relative or something. So
it's gonna be the Fair Oaks to like the Bad Oaks. The drive-in in the past. But so for people who don't know, I mean, if you don't know The Room, it's the best worst movie ever made. Made by Tommy Wiseau, starring yourself and Tommy and the cast. And then you wrote a book about the making of it called The Disaster Artist, got made into the movie. James Franco and all those guys. People know the backstory. We're huge fans of it. I was, borderline obsessed with it for about 3-4 years. And
we got Jay help after a while, and he's okay.
We did.
He's
I was going to say, because I have people, in case you Chris R will come straighten it all out.
So like, I mean, you've been, touring, Tommy does the tours, you do the tours with the movie and do the Q&As and stuff. And I've listened to so many interviews and stuff. We've all seen The Disaster Artist. I read the book. I have questions more about like The Disaster Artist and then Best Friends, which is another movie you guys made together a little bit later. So, but I can just take over anything. Mike, Art, you want to jump in and start? Go ahead.
What you said, I mean, this really is like a global movie. I'm wondering what is it like, watching this overseas with people, and do they have different reactions to it than American audiences?
What's pretty amazing in that I've been to Iceland. We did some screenings there, and I thought, okay, it's going to be different here. No, it's straight all the way through. You got the spoons flying, the similar quotes, Japan, China, Portugal. It's
Wow.
all like the same routine. It's like got its own language
Yeah, it's
that's
like rock
consistent all
star
the way
stuff
through.
going on.
Yeah, and it's almost bigger in the UK
Do they are they
than
dubbed?
anywhere else.
Are they
So
dubbed in like in Asia and stuff, or they watch
They
it
are they have the
subtitles?
subtitles. Yeah,
Okay, so that's the Asian subtitles, but they listen to the English
yeah,
audio. Okay,
yeah.
because that's like so much of it is just the
yeah,
particular readings of the lines and the weird
It really
deliveries.
is.
Yeah,
words.
yeah, yeah.
But you just said like it's people dig it the same way here in the States. But is there anything that any place that you visited that was a totally different reaction? Could be good, could be bad, whatever the case may be. But was there a place that like you think of like it was like, wow, I had no idea they were gonna react this way to it?
I think that happened more early on, like when people didn't know what the hell to expect. Like they were just brought in and there was like just dead silence. Like they just were like, this is horrifying. But after that, I feel like every time I've gone somewhere, for the most part, there's been a lot of laughter. You know, just a lot of interaction. I think because people are warned and encouraged, go in with that mentality, and their friends are bringing them as well, so they're encouraging them to go for it.
There's nothing like showing it to somebody who's never seen it before.
Oh,
It's
I was very late to it. I actually didn't see it until maybe about 3 years ago, I think. And we watched it Thanksgiving weekend up at my parents' cabin in the woods, and me and my brother. And within 25 minutes, I'm not even. I was coughing, laughing so hard I couldn't catch my breath. It was like just when you think the sex scene's over, here comes another, and then it's just
And the same one that was already shot,
right.
just prolonged.
I was like, wait a minute. Killed me. But the other thing too is like you have obviously been, like you said, you've been all around the world, and you've done these Q&As and everything. Is there a question that you're just, all right, I'm done answering that one? Like everybody asks that one.
I feel like usually there's always some interesting new question on all these Q&As, and I feel like everyone that comes to a screening, it's a lot of people, it's their first time.
Right.
So you have to treat them like they're getting that answer for the first time. So it's always fun because I'm just curious for people watching it, as they are of me. Like I want to know what did you think? Like how could you think that could ever exist on film, and how did it get there? Like I want to know their reaction just as much as they want to know how it happened. So it's always a give and take that I've enjoyed, because versus being embarrassed of the film, I was always intrigued how it would be received. And if people saw it, I wanted to know, would they think the same way I thought of Tommy when I met him in the acting class? So it's always been, for the most part, when I've gone to universities, when I've gone to different cities, it's always been interesting to me to see how this movie affects people. And a lot of people have come up and they said, hey, we're getting married next week. We met, our first date was watching this movie. And I'm like, that's a great test. If you can get through this movie and have a sense of humor, that's a good start to a promising relationship.
One of my main questions is kind of like, I guess we can kind of go semi-chronologically, but so like at the end of The Disaster Artist, and I know you've said in a bunch of interviews, like at the actual premiere of the movie the first time, you kind of got to the point where your sex scene came up and then you were out, right? Is that right? Like you couldn't watch yourself in that?
Because everyone was laughing. They started laughing at the logos. And I was like, oh no,
yeah.
oh no. And then it was just like, I don't think I can sit through this. So I bolted when that came out.
Right. So what did you go back in at what point or not?
I never went back in.
So
I stayed in the lobby, and then I peek in from the back watching out.
And did Tommy stay in the whole time?
He stayed in the whole time.
And so who was sitting next to him? So what was his real reaction to it? Because in the movie, obviously, they have a scene where he comes out and he's upset and you're out there and you kind of console him and say, it doesn't matter, man. It's people love your movie no matter what. And then he kind of spins it to like, oh, this is the best comedy ever made. But how did that really go down? And like, what was his real reaction in there?
So he stayed in.
Have that moment with him.
No, I mean, he stayed in and watched it. I hung out in the lobby and I watched people walk out. and it was really funny, the reactions. The dude looked at his friend and he's like, man, I'll never get hard again. And people just walked out and they were like talking in the lobby, and it was really interesting to hear their reaction. And they talked to me and they're like, hey, we saw some of your performance. You're not bad. Like, don't be. And I was like, oh, no, it's cool. I was like counting the seconds. I was like, and then I went back in, and it was the scene where we were all in tuxedos and the doorbell kept ringing. And every time the doorbell rang, the whole audience laughed like it was a half-hour comedy. And I started seeing, I was like, wait, there's so much comedy here that I didn't even think of. Like, you're seeing it come alive. And then, everyone laughed. We're roaring when he killed himself. And then I went down to see him after the screening, and he's like, I was sitting like one next to him. He didn't even notice that I left. He's like, what do you think? Did it come out well? And I was like, yeah, you should be really proud. And he looked at me, he's like, everyone laughing, but it's tragedy, but whatever, And so he was a little like overwhelmed, which is understandable. I mean, I think anybody who shows a movie, whether it's good or bad reception, you're going to be, it's an experience.
Right.
And so that night we did like a premiere after party, and, his date was Stanley Kramer's daughter. And he directed like The Men and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And so she told him, she's like, Tommy, you have a Christopher Walken vibe to you. You should, as you can tell from the screen, you should get more into comedy. Like, you have a natural thing for comedy. And he took it in, and a week later, the room poster said, like, with the passion of Tennessee Williams, and then experienced this quirky new dark comedy. So he played like, both angles to see how that would work. But yeah, he took it, and I think he probably analyzed it, and and then shortly thereafter, he didn't back down. He kept promoting it, and sure enough, film students discovered it, and they loved it, and they promoted it on their own time. And I mean, they treated him like, he was Martin Scorsese. They loved him that much in their own way.
So if he ever was
pretty fast.
If he ever was like kind of crushed on the inside, he never kind of let it be known to anyone. He kind of, you think?
I don't think crushed with that word. I think he was probably taken aback, and very much like, because he thought people were going to be like emotionally just blown away and crying. So I just think he was, shell shocked, and figured, like, tried to figure out what to do next.
And for you, is that acceptance quicker? Like, was it that night to where you're like, well, hey,
man. I mean, I knew what it was like when I had the dailies when we were first finishing filming. And so I showed the dailies to my family, and we had that first reaction that, Mike, you were talking about, as we were laughing till 1 o'clock in the morning, just watching takes. And then my brother showed it to his friends, and they were like, wait, who the fuck is this guy? Like, we need to know what is this? So I sort of had that whole experience. And then over Christmas, I went to visit my aunt in Florida, and we just put on the rough cut, which, like, they were blown away, and we laughed about it. And so it was like this home video that basically you made that I didn't think anybody would ever see. I didn't think it would ever come out. I didn't think you'd finish it. So when the premiere was happening, it was just like, oh no, like, people are going to see this now. And so it became a little less funny, but it was still like, I was never expecting anything from it. And so it was a memorable night because he had hired a publicist to like fill the theater. So it was a huge crowd. It felt like a Hollywood premiere, but it like wasn't. So at 24, it was sort of like a memorable night to just have all this go down and experience it. But then I thought that was it. It was almost like you're getting in the ring with Mike Tyson. It's like, can you just survive one round? You survive one round, you thought, okay, we did it, time to move on. And that's what I thought it was going to be. And then things changed, and it's just the movie people loved. It wouldn't die.
The other thing too, I watching the Disaster Artist especially, it was just to see like all the things that you guys did, behind the scenes and in between filming the movie. I feel it really is a very good snapshot of the time too, for whatever reason, just because, like, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you could have made that movie any other time. Like, I don't think you could have made it 5 years later or even 7 years later. 100%. I think like that was like the perfect time for, because it was also that that era of like the first kind of viral videos, the first kind of like, cult things that kind of made it to the mainstream, did you hear about this, word of mouth kind of stuff. Is that your understanding too? Like, do you feel like you could have made this any other time?
No, it was sort of like the perfect accident. It was like everything had to happen so insanely bad, or whatever you want to call it, that it had to be done during that time where everyone was at in their life. The right crew, the right personalities. It just took like the perfect storm. And I just think, in some crazy way, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so you're talking about like going in the ring with Mike Tyson, right? So after the film and all that, you decide to step back in the ring and write the book, and obviously it became the movie. But like, would you have changed anything different that you put in the book that you would have loved to have like done in the movie, or vice versa along those lines? Because when you're writing this book, I think James Franco was going to pick this book up, into a movie. So is there something you would love to have put into the book to be in the film?
So so when The Room started getting discovered and like playing in theaters like in New York and then London, I thought, okay, people are seeing this movie. If they only know the true story behind it, it's just as insane, if not more, but it's actually a story. And I was like, that could make a really good movie. So I thought, what a great challenge, take this movie that everyone calls the worst movie ever, tell the story behind it, and then have that become a great movie. I was like, hey, there's movies out there about Hollywood in a similar way, about a weird friendship and people trying to pursue their dreams. And so I studied like Ed Wood, Sunset Boulevard, Boogie Nights. And so I just, I focused on the friendship part, because that was the part that meant the most to me. It's like, the making of a bad movie is niche, because not everybody likes bad movies. So I was like, but they could relate to two odd, two friends that were polar opposites, but like shared a common goal. So the goal from the beginning was that story to become a movie. And people looked at me like, are you like Tommy? Like, are you like shooting for you're shooting for something that is so far out there. But I really, what I learned from making The Room is you got to collaborate. You got to have a good team if you're going to pursue something. If you try to do everything on your own, it's going to be a mess. So, I worked with a really great co-author. We got a really good publisher, really good editors, and we just all tried to tell this story in a way that's relatable. And, it's something that everybody can enjoy. It's not just like the worst movie. It's a story about like, a friendship that survives against all odds. And then this movie that is proof of that friendship. And so we just really went for it. And originally there's this film agent who adapted some pretty big books like No Country for Old Men and, a few other ones. And so he had never heard of The Room. He read the book, he loved it, he represented it. And we got like Sacha Baron Cohen, who was interested. And then, nothing really happened. And then 3 weeks after the book came out, I got a call from James Franco and Seth Rogen that they wanted to turn into a movie. And I'm just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So Tommy was like, the book first came out, he's hot and cold. And then I call him and I'm like, Tommy, you're not gonna believe this. Like, James Franco wants to make a movie out of this. And he goes, you know what, you just say that, how like, who says who? And so we had to have like a whole conference call, the three of us. And it was an insane journey, just the whole thing, them arguing, them talking about like who would play me, and why don't you get Johnny Depp? and then James like laughs, and it was a circus, but it was like, I can't believe this is happening. It was sort of like everything that happened with the book was sort of what Tommy wanted with the movie, and so we kind of helped each other out. He made this crazy movie. I didn't want to make the movie. I was in it reluctantly. There was that. And then I wanted to do the book. He didn't really get the book, but they worked together. And then, we finally got a good movie out of it. So, so then that kind of led to why we made Best Friends. Because I thought, we've done this, now let's give Tommy a chance to see if he can really be a solid actor in a role that fits him.
So on Wikipedia, it says that it was, you kind of wrote Best Friends as sort of like a sympathetic, like let me do this for him. Is that kind of how it came about? Like, was he not?
Yeah.
Was he kind of not cut in to like the book and the movie, or is that
Yeah,
why?
no, he was involved like from the beginning. Like we all did the conference calls together. Like he was just as involved as I was in the sense of like getting that thing started. So that was he was happy. I mean, he's never really happy, but he was, that was cool because I really felt I wanted him to be a part of it too.
Mhm.
And so did Franco and all that. So that was cool. And then really for me it was seeing the Disaster Artist movie. I saw a test screening or really early on, and I thought it was just such a great, like, inspiring filmmaker story. And I thought people, when they see this movie, they're going to really wonder what happened to us.
Mhm.
And they're going to wonder, like, we'd love to see, like, what have you guys done since? And I was like, you know what? Seeing that movie was like, I really think there's something with Tommy that just hasn't been utilized properly. He's never been put in a role that's like not kind of mocking or joking. And I was like, let's make like a full-on indie noir thriller where he's like a Heisenberg type character where he's like serious and we shoot him serious. I write the dialogue for him that like flat that he can work with and just like, not put him in a position to be a joke. And so I just, for fun, I just wrote this screenplay and I wrote it like in 4 days. And I was like, this is probably not going to happen, but okay, whatever. So I pitched it to him and I was like, hey, I wrote this script and, I want to make this movie. There's a great role for you. And I thought he was going to be like, no, sorry. And I was like, I got a crew. I got everything ready to go. And he's like, yeah, we can try to make the movie, but, I have one request. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And he's like,
6 sex scenes.
and he's like, in this movie, I want to be same height as you.
Oh, that's good.
I was like, same height as me. I was like, sure, whatever, we'll do it. And so he went and had these platform heels made. And so in the movie, he's like, you can't show these heels though. Like they have to be hidden. You can only shoot me this way. And so sure enough, like he sees the movie for the first time, and first thing you see are his shoes. And I was like, dear God. But no, I think Best Friends is something that it's an interesting successor to The Room, and that it shows Tommy as somebody who in the right role can give you something pretty interesting.
That what he said there, like, I want to be as tall as you, that has like so much depth and meaning to it.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah,
let's dissect that for a second.
You can unpack that for a while if you wanted to.
You know what? If I should use that line with if I ever meet Michael Jordan.
All right, I'd love to do like a rapid fire true or false of things that are in the Disaster Artist, and you just tell me if they're true or false or not. Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah.
We got to start with a robot crab on the dashboard of the car.
True.
No, fuck. Don't talk to robot crab. He's shy.
Totally true.
Oh
no, he in real life he said, "Be careful, he may bite you."
Oh, that's great. That's great.
This is already better than I thought these answers were going to be. The restaurant acting scene where you guys are just acting goading.
True. Not as crazy as the movie, but just as embarrassing.
Right on. The Tommy's Planet pen. Did he really?
True.
True.
I still have it.
Wow. That's amazing. Did Tommy have an actual moment like the Judd Apatow moment where he kind of accosted a producer?
Similar. He didn't accost anybody, but it was similar. Like he was told to leave.
Oh, really? Wow. Did Tommy see footage of the crew talking shit about him?
Yes.
Really? So that really happened?
Yeah.
Brutal, man.
Yeah, that was. There was some.
And he kept them on. He threatened to fire, but he kept them on still.
Uh-huh.
Wow. What were you gonna say, Mike?
I was just gonna say, like, a lot of great a lot of great like emotional moments from that movie. That it's amazing to hear that they're actually real. That's great.
I know.
Did you actually have a TV gig with the beard thing that he wouldn't let you do?
Nah.
That was made up.
Okay. That was made up, yeah.
Right on.
Was there any kind of conflict like that though? Like something similar to that?
There was, yeah. I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it was basically like I wasn't needed one day on set, and I finally booked like a couple really good modeling gigs. And I wasn't needed that day, so I took the job, and he flipped out, and he was like, "You have to be on set." I'm like, "No, but all my scenes are done." And he's like, "No, you have one more. I forgot to tell you." And that was the second sex scene where that comes out of nowhere.
Right.
You remember late in the movie, it's like we're at a restaurant, then I have a sex scene, then we're jogging. So he threw that in to try to get me back to the set. So
And then my last one is, was there that moment on the rooftop where, you know, you said you wish we could make our own movie, and that was his like light bulb moment?
maybe that was predicting the
Right,
future, because that was more how best friends happen. But The Room, I was like, I don't want to be in this.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's the spirit of sort of us moving to LA together. But for the came to The Room, I did everything I could not to be in it. And it was like the night before filming that he convinced me to be in it, which is kind of crazy.
Right.
I-
To be like
I-
a backup, right, for that role.
It's a good backup. Yeah.
Yeah. He had like understudies for each role.
He did. Yeah. There's somebody else cast that he wasn't happy with. He's like, last chance. You don't take the role, you know, you will regret rest of your life. And I was like, yeah, sure.
Right.
But hey, I mean, in some ways, it's, you know, I gotta say he was right.
I got one. The scene where you first meet him and he does that audition, and he loses his shit and just goes all over the place. Like, was how on point was that? How on point
The
was
acting
Franco's
class?
performance in that in the acting class? Yeah, in the acting class.
It was a little bit more over there. It was like a good like collection of his, you know, his performances. But you know, the one that he did was more like a sonnet. It was Shakespeare.
Which is also in the movie, kind of. There's
Yeah.
the second when he's in LA, with Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He was a little, you know, little. It was just as big of a mess. Maybe not as big, but it definitely, that's something he would do.
Because I always admired Dave Franco. Going up to him afterwards saying, "Hey man, that's like nothing I've ever seen. I want to do a scene with you." Like, is that you?
No, it really was. Like, I got to give it to him. Like, I've been taking acting classes for several years, and whenever he would step up there, it blew everything else away. Like, I normally, when you're watching actors do scenes, you're just kind of in your own head and you're thinking about your scene and you're just seeing acting. But when he went up there, it was like everything stopped. It was
Forced you to
so
pay attention.
funny. It was so funny and so unpredictable. And then he'd argue with the teacher. It was just like, it was so liberating. And so I got to give it to him. Like, yeah, I would go sometimes to class just to see what he was going to do. And that is, you know, that's a huge compliment to anybody in a class, because, you know, in class, you're in your own head. So it takes a lot to be able to enjoy someone else's performance.
Yeah, it's all about standing out, whether it's an audition or a class. Like, if you're just the same as everybody else, then what the hell?
Yep.
All right, I got
Greg,
2 more. Get Art.
Is that, you know, so Mike was talking about like having the, you know, the room be filmed at that perfect time. And, you know, we were talking before we were recording, you got some projects, you got a lot of stuff going on. You know, actor, screenwriter, author, all these things. Just, we've seen the landscape, especially during this pandemic, like how crazy and how like the entertainment industry is adapting to like people, all these other things. What's your take on like how, just, you know, just all the hats you wear? What do you think the state of the entertainment industry, and how have you yourself adapted to all these changes that are going on?
That's a really good question. I was really lucky. I made those Best Friends movies, did the tour. I started getting the idea for what I wanted to do next. I wanted to get into horror. I got a role on The Haunting of Bly Manor through Mike Flanagan, and I filmed that in Canada. Wrote the horror film. We literally filmed it just before the pandemic started. And people kept telling me, like my DP and my crew, they're like, "Hey, dude, let's wait till like March or April of 2020 and give ourselves more time and then film it." And I remember it's like, "Nah, we better never to wait. You never know what could happen. We're never going to be perfectly ready. Let's just do it." And I mean, we had everything done so we could do post-production during all the pandemic and stay sane by having stuff to do and stay creative. And I've been able to write these scripts. So, you know, I'm just now starting to get back out there and do these advanced screenings. And honestly, through The Room, I built really great rapport with theaters that will now show these new films I've made. I can show up and meet, these great fans that have supported us. And I have Miracle Valley, which is the new horror film I made about a cult. I did a movie also right before the pandemic called Cyst with George Hardy from Troll 2.
I just listened to a podcast about that on Jericho podcast with you guys.
Yeah, which is really fun. And then I shot a found footage paranormal movie. So I was able to do these projects just as all this happened. So I've been really fortunate to now hopefully get back out there and be able to go out and safely do these screenings around the country and give people, some entertainment, some new things to see. And then I think with streaming, you can, because I think movies need to be seen in a theater, to be honest. Like even at drive-ins or theaters, I think that's the way movies should be experienced first, if you can have that opportunity. So hopefully, over these next few months, I can do that, and then obviously look to streaming for next year. But after that, as you were saying, the climate now moving forward is something that I guess we'll have to navigate, because again, with film festivals, having them online, it's just not the same. You want to go to a festival, you want to meet people and talk about movies. So going forward in 2022, hopefully things get a little bit better, but luckily starting now, I have these films made and I can get out there and show them and, meet fans.
Yeah. People coming out to the drive-in this weekend will get to see a little sneak peek trailer of Miracle Valley, right?
Yeah. Big, as Tommy would say, big secret.
Is this the first time the room's been shown at a drive-in? Do you know?
It's like for the East Coast. I think there's something out here on the West Coast, but the East Coast, I don't think it's happened. So
cool.
Yeah.
So I got two more quick ones, and I asked Tommy this. I was at a screening that he was at, but it was too chaotic, or it just could be that this is the answer he usually gives. But I asked, which room is the room? And he gave me something like, it's whatever you want, whatever room you want.
Yeah. He'll say, it's up to you. You can have private place. So the room is really when he wrote it out, the first vision after I took him to see The Talented Mr. Ripley, he saw it as a stage play.
So like a one room.
So he's like, everything will happen in one stage. And so I was like, that's kind of he is good with titles. Like he's got these just punchy, throws them out there and they're like, that's kind of, that's kind of fun. So the room, I got that. And then when he decided I'm going to make it a film first, he just kept that title and rolled with, he rolled with it.
I'm surprised no one's done a play version of it yet. Is that in the works? There's got to be some kind of stage version or a musical or something. Somebody's going to be.
We had talked to Franco to do something with the Disaster Artist. I had also Ben Folds, the musician, reached out to me to do something musically, which would be awesome. So hopefully at some point that's sort of the next progression.
Wow.
Speaking of great names, I heard this on the other podcast I just listened to, but tell us about Big Shark. Is this happening?
It's a big shark. So that was a couple. It's like 2.5 years ago. We did a couple day shoot, and Tommy showed this teaser trailer from that. So people thought it was a movie, and then it's that's all that exists. So, but I think he's he's got aspirations to go and make the film, but for now that's all that's.
So it's like Jaws in New Orleans, essentially.
Yeah, that was his vision. Yeah, that was his vision. But we just got in a couple days of filming stuff. So
Big Shark, it's amazing.
I mean, again, that was just a title he threw out there. It's like
easy.
Makes
I mean, I think it's just straight to the point, and it's catchy in its own way. So he does have some interesting skills for sure.
Totally. Well, I'm spent. You guys, anything else you want to ask?
We're good, man. That was awesome. This is great stuff.
Thanks. This was great.
Yeah,
Greg.
Thanks so much. So Greg Sestero will be screening The Room, and followed by The Disaster Artist. You're going to get a sneak peek of Miracle Valley, Q&A with Greg, and there's meet and greet opportunities available for some signings and photos, I guess. Go to Fair Oaks Drive-In Theater, and that's theatre, R-E at the end. It's not ER, on their website. It's this Saturday, August 21st. This week, we're putting this out right away so we can get the word out there. At Greg Sestero, Sestero, on Twitter and Instagram, I think, too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right on, man. And anything else you want to plug real quick? Anything else coming up? People can
I actually, during the pandemic, I got really into the UFO culture, and I wrote a UFO abduction script. So that'll be next.
Yeah. Nice.
After
big
Miracle
UFO
Valley.
culture around here. Pine Bush. We have the UFO museum now. Maybe you can come check that out.
I'll be there. I'll be there on Saturday.
Yeah, September. We have a UFO day. We have a parade and everything. It's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Right on, Greg.
Hey, maybe we'll film there. Maybe we'll film there.
Dude, bring it, man. We'd love it. We're UFO nuts. So thanks so much, man. We appreciate it, and hope to see you this weekend at the Fair Oaks Drive-In here.
You got it, man.
Middletown. Thanks so much, Greg.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Don't forget to leave us a review and rating on iTunes, and join us on Facebook and Twitter at Masters of None.
Check out the website, mastersofnone.com. It includes episodes, news, articles, videos, pictures, so much fucking more, man. Check them out. Masters of None. Masters of a fucking excellent domain name, I'll tell you that right now. Father too many.
You think someone had it and they were like, we want that, we gotta get it.
You think they had to buy it?
I would think, man. Like you said, that's a good name.
Unless they were going way far back.
Maybe they saw that. And
Maybe they got it way back.
How far back?
Way back.
How far are you gonna go back?
Way back as we go around like this. All right, check them out. mastersofnone.com.